Welcome again, and thank you for tuning into the Fantasy Football Chronicles channel. Gameweek 4 team selection, transfer strategies, and more will be discussed in today's video. If you haven't seen it yet, the players to buy video for Gameweek 4 will be displayed at the end of the screen. So without further ado, let's look into it. We'll begin by reviewing Gameweek 3. We scored a total of 55 points, which was enough to keep a second green arrow in a row, moving us up to 703k. Despite Everton limiting Wolves to have only 2 shots on goal, Jordan Pickford let a clean sheet slip away in the dying minutes. In fact, he now has the worst points per 90 with 1.1 among all goalkeepers in the league after 3 game weeks. Only Ederson, Sanchez and Johnstone have recorded a lower save per 90 figure than his 2 saves per game. Patience with Marcus Rashford and Bruno was rewarded, with a combined of 4 returns among them against Nottingham. In a 3-1 loss to West Ham, Kaoru Mitoma was overshadowed by teammate Pascal Gross. Saka scored from the penalty spot, as Arsenal managed a 2-2 draw with Fulham. The long-awaited goal by Nicholas Jackson was finally scored when he headed home Sterling's cross. While captain Erling Haaland also returned back to the score sheet against Sheffield, despite missing a penalty earlier in the game. As you're aware, we rolled out transfer last week, giving us 2 free transfers for Game Week 4. We've been playing around with potential transfers for our squad, and we even made a move on Monday to catch any price rises. So let's move on to discussing the transfer plans for Game Week 4. With 1.4 million in the bank and 2 free transfers available, with the next international break upon us, we've decided to sell one of our top mids, Kaoru Mitoma. Last week we considered shipping him out, but now that Brighton's schedule is getting tougher, we've decided it's time to let him go. Raheem Sterling emerges as his replacement. In the first 2 game weeks, he displayed promising signs of his abilities, and in the 3rd game, against Luton Town at home, he really showcased his FPL potential. Before last year's disappointing campaign, Sterling actually had recorded double-digit goals in 5 consecutive seasons. Choosing between him and James Maddison was made easier by our intentions in wild-carding during Game Week 9. With just Bruno Fernandes ahead of him, in terms of non-penalty expected goal involvements, Maddison's underlying figures are impressive. But it's hard to see past Chelsea's upcoming schedule, especially because 4 of the next 5 games are ranked 3 and lower in FDR. With the upcoming international break, we want to roll our second free transfer. It's advisable to go into Game Week 5 with 2 transfers in case of potential suspensions or injuries. To sum up, the plan for this week is to swap out Mitoma for Sterling, and this is how we'll be lining up for Game Week 4. Regrettably for us owners, Jordan Pickford has only made 6 saves and allowed 6 goals over the previous 3 game weeks. It's not hard to see a clean sheet against Sheffield United, who've lost 3 straight games while managing only 2 goals in that span. And Everton still has some encouraging defensive figures. In their previous 3 games, they've allowed only 33 shots, 3rd fewest in the league after Man City and Arsenal. Ben Chilwell will be going up against a Nottingham Forest team that have scored 5 goals in their past 3 games. But defensively, Chelsea has looked strong so far this season, being 4th in expected goals conceded with 3.51. Last Saturday, without Tomiyasu to hold him back, Fulham provided Ben White with more attacking opportunities. In that game, he had 2 touches inside the opposing penalty area, compared to his 1 touch per 90 minutes in his previous 2 games. George Baldock makes his first appearance in our team. In the league during the previous 3 games, his opponent Everton has failed to score while only managing 1.70 in expected goals per 90. Over his previous 3 games, Brian Mbemo has compiled an XG of 2.87, second only to Erling Haaland. His opponent Bournemouth have given up 6 goals in their past 3 games, tied for the second and most in the league. Saka has kept in registering goals, in both of his last home matches against Nottingham Forest and Fulham. During that time, he's created 7 attempted assists and 17 crosses, both of which are team highs. In that span, Manchester United has given up 11 opportunities down their left flank, an area where he frequently occupies. After recording his first double-digit haul of the season last weekend, Raheem Sterling has taken a spot on our team. Last time out, he registered 5 shots inside the box against Luton Town, and he wants to beat Chelsea's highest scorer, which isn't out of the question. Chelsea face Forest up next, a team who've given up an average of 1.83 expected goals per 90 in away matches. Bruno Fernandes leads all FPL players, with 4.47 expected goal involvements over the past 3 games. Kaoru Mitoma is the only player to attempt more assists than his 10 attempts, with 11, while no other player has produced more than his 4 big chances. Nicholas Jackson helped his team earn their first win of the season last week against Luton, scoring one of the team's 3 goals. Jackson has had more big chances with 5 than anyone else in the league in his first 3 games. An optimistic mark before next week's home game against Nottingham Forest. Purvis Estupiñán is first on the bench. Brighton home to Newcastle is a hard game to call, and his fixtures take a turn to the worse soon. We could make a case of giving him the nod ahead of George Baldock or even Ben White, but that's a decision we contemplate making ahead of the deadline. It's difficult to look past Erling Haaland for captaincy once again. The Norwegian has a league best figure of 3.07 in expected goals this season. At home, he'll take on Fulham, who've allowed the most expected goals through the first 3 rounds. If any changes were made prior to the deadline, we'll be sure to post them on our socials. We appreciate your viewing. If you did find it helpful, you can show your appreciation by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions about your team ahead of Gameweek 4, do leave a comment down below and we'll try our best to answer them. We'll be looking forward to seeing you at the next one.